Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this second day of October. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Got John Restano from Spitball and Sports. Gonna come up 30 minutes past the hour. Gonna talk to him about the Bills, Caleb Williams' development, get his take on the Karl Anthony Towns. He's big with following the New York Knicks. May even get an Ohio State question. Also going to talk about the college football games. Got Jalen Monroe. He is really drifting up the quarterback charts. Got a bite there from Mel Kiper and Mike Greenberg on ESPN's Get Up. Will play a little sound bite. Plus Ron Williams. Wow, what a sensational player. Two great Odell Beckham-like catches in that game. Got some video from that as well. Big game this weekend. Josh Allen versus Stephon Diggs. First time they play since Diggs was traded to Houston. I'll talk about that as well. A lot to get to and more. Let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here shortly, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right. NESSP. Tap on the logo and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports. Click on our NESSP logo and add the channel. National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
All righty then. I want to thank Mac for plugging the program there. Okay. Big game this weekend. I tell you what, this time of year, it's usually a big one every weekend. But there was a long, drawn-out write-up. Was it Jeremy Fowler at ESPN talking about this week? Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills will play at Houston Texans this week. And he went over the long, drawn-out career of Stephon Diggs. And, quite frankly, this guy's got a borderline Hall of Fame career numbers-wise. He had some of the best numbers in the league from 2021, I want to say. Let me see, what is it? I want to say he was from 2020 all the way up to the time that he ended up becoming the 2020 deal that sent Diggs to from Minnesota to Buffalo. And you look from that to the time that he finished with Allen, career numbers. I mean, here it is. The NFL's 30-year-old, this is from ESPN article, wide receiver with the NFL's most receptions from 2020 to 2023 would see his opportunities dwindle as a team went on a 5-game winning streak from the 6-6. That was last year. Remember, they added Joe Brady. They fired Ken Dorsey. They elevated Joe Brady. That was the position coach that became the offensive coordinator. They fired Ken Dorsey, the former offensive coordinator. They wasn't getting it done last year. This team had a losing record, got a winning record, went on a run after that loss to the Eagles, and got all the way up to the divisional game. And ultimately, they won the AFC East, came back, and almost beat that Kansas City team at the very end. And I didn't think that team was even going to make the playoffs last year, per se. But going back to Diggs, yeah, guy's got some Hall of Fame numbers. But also this thing goes on and talks about all the fine. He got $200,000 in fines for unexcused absences going back to the Minnesota days, And I look at this and I think to myself, you think about this, and then you think about Davante Adams wanting out of the Raiders. Now, of course, Diana Rossini's reporting today his hamstring injury is legitimate, and he's not going to play this weekend. But there have been teams, and I mentioned this yesterday, have called about getting Davante Adams or possibly moving on. It's going to be the money issue and whatnot. And then you look at a guy like Stephon Diggs, $200,000 unexcused absence was mentioned in this article from Minnesota. And you look at this stuff here that Antonio Pierce wants Davante Adams out of the Raiders. Remember, he was traded there, per se. And I just think to myself, and we talked about the Green Bay issues, the Green Bay success, from the Davante Adams trade. And you look at not just the Kansas City success, but the early success, what looks to be the early success of the Buffalo Bills, trading off a Diggs, not to mention guys like Antonio Brown in the past. Mike Thomas was an ideal player. I've got John Rostano coming on the program here in about 20 minutes or so. And this guy was just the absolute true professional, former Ohio State player when he was playing with his towards the end there with a Drew Brees and whatnot. Whether you want to blame it on his injuries that came after his giant contract there, second contract extension with this New Orleans team or not. But it seems to be a repeated pattern with wide receivers, number one wide receivers, getting that second contract. And often, not everybody, not DJ Moore so far, not Larry Fitzgerald, not painting broad brushes, but more often than not, you do have an Antonio Brown, even a DeAndre Hopkins here in Tennessee. He had his problems. If you all that went back and watched, some of you, now I'm really into this stuff, the hard knocks, going back to the Arizona hard knocks with the Arizona hard knocks with DeAndre Hopkins and then Kyler Murray, him arguing with this young quarterback only a few years into the league about getting the football. You know, he was turning into a malcontent, and eventually they moved off of him. That's how he's back here with he's moved, Houston moved off of him, Arizona moved off of him, and now he's a Tennessee Titan. Do you, and this is something I'll bring up to John later on, as a general manager in the league, do you put a clause particularly after 2 years, if you think this guy's a great player, you like his numbers, a total fine player, great teammate, great citizen, all the good stuff. But do you put a clause in this player's contract because he's a wide receiver after his second year, whether he complains about money, he complains about catches, or both, or conduct detrimental? Do you give yourself a financial out for that contract after year 2 of the second contract, or you simply don't even sign the second contract with these balloon payments of $35 million and just move off the guy and then trade him to some other sucker, a Raiders, a Cleveland Browns, some of these organizations that constantly have problems staying relevant, and then you go ahead and win your championship. I mean, that's something that if you look at this, it just seems like it's a constant problem. Pickles, I don't know if you just joined me. I was referring back to the Stefon Diggs long article, and because they play this weekend, great game going on. Bills technically are a point favorite. They're on the road. I'm not sure if this being in Houston, I might not pick Houston. I have to study the defense and see how good their run defense is. I haven't got down and crunched the numbers and looked into that. But myself and the Mad New Yorker, we will talk about that game this weekend. But it just seems like it's a breath of fresh air there in Buffalo. And then you look at I know they look good now. Great win. Won a parlay off the Houston Texans last week. Houston's going down. Young C.J. Stroud. They're down by 3. Gets the last around the last minute touchdown. There's a little bit more time left on the clock. They knock out division rival there, Jacksonville Jaguars, and make them go 0-4. And Nico Collins is arguably he's got the best numbers in the league right now. Nico Collins. Is that going to become a problem with Stefon Diggs? Is that going to become a problem at some point with Stefon Diggs that Nico Collins is outshining him right now? So that's what kind of guy I see him being right now. Everything's good. They've only got one loss. They were blown out by Minnesota. Other than that, they've had some tight games. Every game's been tight for them. Even that Bears game, if you look at it, that was a 6-point game. The Bears hung in there the whole game. This Jacksonville game came down to the last drive. That Colts game was a 2-point game. They've been in some dogfights, and I think they'll be in another dogfight again against Buffalo, who they'll get a better Buffalo team this week than Buffalo. The effort that they gave to the Baltimore Ravens. It's just something to think about, and it's something I'll bring up to John Rostano later. But Pickles says, some guys cash out after that second contract. Yeah. And particularly, it just seems like wide receivers. Now, Pickles mentions guys like you've got your guys like Albert Haynesworth. They just simply mail it in. Other guys, they can't handle that money. It's like they mentally just give up or whatever. It's something. Is there ever going to be a general manager saying, listen, this is a trend. This is a thing, and then it's selling it to the owner. I think that's what it is. I would like to see what the owner really thinks about this. We're getting more and more in what do you call it? Insight whatnot with these Hard Knocks. Remember, we had the Hard Knocks with the Giants where they went into the front office. I would like to see, and I could see Mr. Meyer, which he if the Giants keep going in this direction, Joe Sheehan better hope that Philadelphia continues to have injuries and they lose out, because he does not want to see the Eagles with Saquon Barkley, who that owner did not want to re-sign, do well. You know, as I said the other day about the Cincinnati Bengals, okay, when it comes to these owners, well, I'm sure these general managers and say, listen, this guy, he misses a practice every now and then. Now he's a little bit of a malcontent about not getting the football. What about when we pay him $35 million a year and we pay him 80 out of 140 million guaranteed or something like that? How do you think he's going to act then, owner so-and-so? And the owner's thinking, well, I'll get X amount of money from those jerseys. I really don't care. That's what I really want to know, you know. Pickle says that sports agent getting rich, hustling these owners all over the big Eagles. Yeah, and I do think that owners also won't back pay money. They want money from those jerseys. It's got to be something to do with those jersey sales and TV and keeping them relevant and everything, rather than just winning. Again, you look at the past Super Bowl winners, then you never really see a team with a stacked wide receiver roster winning a bunch of Super Bowls. You know, Brady never won with Moss. Moss never won with Dante Culpepper. You know, I think they're somewhat needed, but I still think they're an overrated asset. They're not a must. Quarterback, blocking up front, getting to the other quarterback, that's a must. Coaching is a must. We've seen that. But number one, big dollar wide receiver in air quotes, is that really a must? You know, that's the $64,000 question that fans around the league are asking. And, of course, management and whatnot are asking, in my opinion. But that's going to be a great game. Cannot wait to see it. Don't want to waste too much time on that, because I know once John pops in here, I've got a lot I want to talk to him about. We will revisit that trade, because he's up in the Niagara Falls area, and he tells me what they're saying on the sports talk radio, the people in the neighborhood, and people at his job. I like to get the insight from a local like a John Restano, who's one of my absolute favorite guests here. There was a great football game as advertised Saturday. I know I'm a little late talking about it. Wednesdays are usually my college football days because there's so much in the NFL to cover, Mondays and Tuesdays, okay? So Alabama beat Georgia as I predicted and thought that they would. Jalen Monroe played like the Heisman favorite that I said he would, okay? Played like the Heisman favorite I said he would get his stock up like I thought he would. Listen to Mel Kiper already hyping up Jalen Monroe, who looked like a guy. Remember this time last year, folks? Maybe a game or two before, not exactly this time last year. Week 3, week 4 last year, Monroe was actually benched for playing bad in the Texas game. Then he was at the UCF game, benched, and then they brought him back, and then the guys took off, you know. So here is a video here from Get Up. This is from Get Up, talking Mike Greenberg talking about the new quarterback stocks here, Jalen Monroe, Schroeder Sanders, which I'll talk about here in just a little bit. Asking Mel Kiper, got this off the TikTok app from the Get Up site here. Listen up.
Where is Jalen Monroe going right now as far as looking ahead to next April?
Vying for QB1 in this draft is what he's doing. Great. You think about where Shedeur Sanders is from Colorado, off a really good game, real good performance. Think about Cam Ward from Miami of Florida, Carson Beck. You think about a guy like Quinn Ewers coming back from that injury at Texas. So there's 5 vying for QB1. Jalen Monroe right now is QB1. I still have Shedeur Sanders there. I'm going to debate that in my own mind between now and Friday when I come out with those next rankings, Thursday or Friday, depending upon when I'm finished it all. But Jalen Monroe, 53 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's 53 combined passing, rushing over the last 2 years, 18-1 this year, 16-2 as a starter. And you see the progression. He's always been a great deep ball thrower, great deep ball accuracy. The progression's been short, intermediate, precise passing, accurate passing there. Operations, right? The details, the pre-snap. He's getting better at that. Jalen Milroe, to me right now, is in the mix to be certainly QB1 and be a top.
Yeah, and think about it. Could he get a rise like a Baker Mayfield did? The big thing I look for is the ability to get rid of the football quick. Of just watching a few clips of Brian Baldinger talk about, and I mentioned the Titans the other day, the difference between Mason Rudolph getting rid of the football and a guy like a Will Levis who's holding on to the ball, trying to get that big play upfield when the play was there right in front of him to the tight end. That being said, Jalen Milroe starting to remind me, if you look at it in real speed, those were kind of slow motion plays there of a guy. He has the speed of a Lamar Jackson / not quite as fast as Jackson, of a Vince Young as a college player per se. But he has the body and the touch of a Dante Culpepper, former Minnesota Viking there. In my opinion, I wrote that down Saturday as I was watching that particular game. And listen, he also mentioned the fact that Schroeder Sanders had a great game last week as well against the UCF. That is not an easy out of UCF there. They're on a bit of a winning streak there. They're 4-1. Schroeder Sanders, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. This was on the road, 28 of 35. But look at Monroe there against the number 2 team in the country, arguably number 1 team in the country. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 27 of 33. He had 6 incompletions. John, yeah, I see you out there, brother. I'm going to bring you on in just a minute. Let me finish this last thought here. Monroe ran for 16 carries, 117 yards. Does the emergence of a Jaden Daniels and a Cliff Kingsbury offense, does that make him more attractive as a first overall pick? That's a $64,000 question for Jalen Milroe in this 2024 type of league here. Do you find another Cliff Kingsbury and bring in a Jalen Milroe and try to do that? Do you take the offensive coordinator from Jim Harbaugh? I can't remember his name. It's the guy that helped with Lamar Jackson initially. Greg Monroe, Greg something. John will be able to help out. I'll ask him about it here in a minute. But so anyways, I did want to show you a little bit more from that game. Pickle says he's like a Randall Cunningham type of guy. Yeah, I think he's a little thicker than Cunningham. But also it took me forever to load up these. I've got to speak about this guy, Ron Williams, okay? Ron Williams, 17 years old, John, watching backstage, looking like Odell Beckham Jr. Watch this catch. I took this off my own TV, downloaded it into TikTok, uploaded it into StreamYard. I'm learning new videos. I'm getting like John and his wife and everything. Watch this catch here, buddy.
It's just sitting nicely, the freshman. And now the freshman goes down the middle. Williams fumbled and caught. And the incredible start for this prodigy continues. He made the
Okay, that was the first one. They didn't score there, but that was in traffic. Try doing that. That's a 17-year-old Ron Williams. This guy would be one of the top wide receivers. This other one was when they coughed away. This is my only, was it Jalen DeBoer? This is my only criticism of Jalen DeBoer. They got way ahead. They was up by 28 points. They did not take enough time off the clock. They got way too run up to the ball happy, trying to fast forward everything, playing at a high speed instead of milking the clock and running a slower pace there. They messed around and let Georgia get back in this game. And I would have hated if Georgia would have won, because Carlos the man in New York would never let me hear the end of it because he picked Georgia. But all that being said, they got down and he throws it to this Ryan Williams kid again, and this kid scores on a better play. Watch this one, John, and Pickers.
Found confidence a bit on their heels. There's a lot of calm and command from Milrow at the start of this game. He's got to have it right now. And they take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams. Still spinning free. Touchdown Alabama. They answer in one play.
This kid is all that in a cup of soup. Let me bring John up here. What do you think about Ryan Williams, 17 years old, man, making those kind of circus catches in the biggest game of the year?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the biggest game of the year. Hi, Robert. Thank you. I'm glad to be back on
Ron
Sports
Rosado,
Go.
Spitball in Sports. I know he's having a good time watching those. I want to bring you in on this, Sonny.
Yeah, I saw that. You know, it's funny. I was watching Ohio State because they were on at the same time against Michigan State, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I got to see that final play live, that right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the biggest time, the biggest game. He's doing spins like that. I mean, I've never seen 17 years old. He should be in school, in high school.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. What do
The
you
whole
think
team,
about Monroe, man? Do you think he's a combination of like a Culpepper or somebody like he's came a long way in 1 year, hasn't he?
Yeah, my God. 117 yards rushing, I think, the other night.
Yeah.
With a couple touchdowns rushing, throwing for 333. And that's not against bad. That's against the best team in the country, I think, or second best at the time. And no, I mean, he's got Josh Allen kind of size with better speed and great arm. I mean, everything's there. Everything you can want. Yeah, he'd be the number one pick to me. It's funny, with this other show we do, the Gridiron Weekly, that's one of our things we're talking about is who's the number one pick right now? You know, who's the best quarterback in the country to come out in 2025? And I got a list here, and he was the top of my list because I think he's better than Cam Ward. I tell you what, Cam Ward the other night, I didn't like against Virginia Tech. I don't know, man. I like him. He's really good, but I thought that might be a little tough on the Heisman, resume. Because that was a little, he had some tough times there, but yeah, Milroe's unbelievable. I think he looks NFL ready. Why not?
Yeah. And that was against this really good Georgia defense. Are there some CJ Stroud comparisons there? Because remember, that's where everybody's really started to take notice of Stroud and what he played against that really good Georgia defense, and nobody could do nothing against.
Yeah, when he decided in that game, and it was the most shocking thing for me, watching him all the time at Ohio State, was he ran. In that game, all of a sudden, he took off and ran against Georgia. That changed everything, I thought, because he would never run in the Big Ten. He would never run. I've never seen him run. Because you're used to Justin Fields running.
That game, did he?
And he ran, and he looked like he could, and it just changed everything, And here he is. Milroe, though, I mean, it's why isn't he is what you want now, I guess, in quarterbacks. He's the guy. He's there's so many good ones in the SEC. It's ridiculous too, by the way. Yeah. There's too many good quarterbacks. There's three, right? With Ewers and probably Jackson Dart. And they got some good ones.
Yours is hurt right now, and you just wonder about what Arch Manning is going to do. And of course, he's not even. I know what the Manning family is going to do, and they're going to tell him, Uncle and Dad, the two uncles and dad, they're going to say, okay, it's your sophomore year. You're going to play 2 more full years in college because Eli and Peyton both played the 4 years. So I don't even expect these guys to be 26. He's going to be April 27. But yours, you just wonder how far his stock has fallen because he's not playing against big competition. They've got Georgia coming up here in a few weeks. Monroe looking good. But you got to think about guys like Jalen Daniels, 80-something% completion percentage in the NFL. Is that a formula now, John, for teams to go out? Now, I don't know how far Daniels is going to go with Washington. We don't know if he's going to get hurt or not. You just got to wonder yourself, is that the new form? And go out and get an offensive coordinator like this guy from college, paying big money, and bring in a guy like Monroe. Because what I like to look for is how fast can a guy get rid of the football rather than doing all this read option stuff, but using his legs. But we're seeing success out of Lamar Jackson. I was never sold on him. Now I'm somewhat sold on him because he got to the AFC Championship game last year, and a few tweaks here and there, they made it beat Kansas City.
Right. Yeah, no, it's and I agree with you. It's more how fast you get the ball out than the other stuff.
With the NFL, normally that's NFL 101, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, and then it all goes hand in hand. I mean, I think about Daniels getting Kingsbury in there, right? Now, obviously, the Bears should have brought Kingsbury to them, but they're too cheap. They couldn't do it. So they let him go the other way. They let him go away because of they are cheap. You got to remember that McCaskey family doesn't have much money, or what they do. Compared to the other 32, they're I guess they're poor. Yeah. They always go on the cheap when it comes to that, and it shows. Eberflus, and yeah, I mean, he's playing to his perfect. He knows how to do it to Daniel's strength. It's you know what? It's the perfect way to bring in the quarterback, right? Because they're not going to sit anymore. They're not going to do that. We're not going to have the Jordan Love thing. That's never happening.
Yeah.
And then you look at Caleb.
I think that's a good idea, though. I mean, Mahomes did it. Brady did it.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. Yeah. But then you look at Caleb Williams. Go to the other side now. You bring in Shane Waldron from Seattle. You don't build an offensive line. He can't. It doesn't matter. Look, he's had some good. He's starting to progress. It looks good. It looks better. Last week was actually pretty good. Houston wasn't bad. It actually wasn't bad. But when Darnell Wright, the Tennessee kid that they drafted, instead of Jalen Carter, he looks terrible. I don't know what happened this year.
They're getting past him.
Last week it was who was it? Oh God, I'm forgetting the name of the guy. Verse, Jared Verse was just blowing by him. It was ridiculous. Like he's standing still. Mm-hmm. So, it's the formula, and I think the Commanders have it because they get the ball out.
I was about to ask you that, man. Do you think that maybe y'all should have got Daniels over Williams?
Well,
or is it just really the system?
I'm going to say this. He probably wouldn't be successful with this Bears team right now like he is in Washington.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to double check with that.
I mean, Nate, you know Nate Davis from Tennessee.
Okay.
He doesn't like to practice, and it's not working out in Chicago. They tried, they paid him big money, and he's not. It's bad. He hardly plays. You never know when he's going to play. The coach calls him out all the time. It's a mess. You got no. This is what gets me.
Yeah.
They had Cameron.
I hear you.
They have the center. I'm going to forget his darn name. Anyway, let me get his name because I got it. He has to be mentioned. Coleman Shelton. He's the center.
Okay.
Tevin Jenkins the guard. Nate Davis doesn't play. Tevin Jenkins is hurt. Coleman Shelton is a center that I don't even understand. You've got Jones on the one end who has digressed, and for some reason Darnell Wright has too.
Yeah.
And instead of drafting a punter in the 4th round, maybe you should have been maybe you should have got the center from Georgia. Maybe you should have done something else. Maybe instead of taking a Doomsday, maybe you take the guy from Penn State. I can't even say his name, but you remember him.
Yeah.
I think
he went to the Jets, the left tackle that can play right.
And Ryan Poles will be he thought he set him up because he got all these toys. I got Swift, I got Keenan Allen, we've got this guy, we got
DJ Moore.
It doesn't matter because they can't hold up. You'll see it. If you ever have the unfortunate to watch the Bears play, you will see what even against
Tennessee, and that made me want to choke Will Levis.
Yes, well, he gave them the game, right?
Yeah,
you watch the tackles for Tennessee kill the Bears.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop him. Coleman Shelton at one point he looked like he did a cartwheel. I don't know how they pushed him that far back. Did you see what the Bears in that game against Indianapolis? 4th and inches on the goal line. They lost 12 yards because they decided to pitch it. They were in shotgun, of course, from the 6-inch line, and they pitched it back to Swift. to the
Mhm.
9-yard line, and he got tackled at the 12. So, I mean, just a lot of
Are you
stuff.
blaming personnel, or are you blaming Eberflus and Waldron? Are they? Who has the most blame here?
I think personnel. I think Ryan Poles does because
Okay.
he did not set them up. I don't even think it's fair. How do you say Shane Waldron? I don't even know what he could do. Look, you know this. The offensive line makes everyone look good. You know what I mean? Offensive coordinators are going to get fired because your offensive line's bad. Quarterbacks are not going to be developed. Everything's going to happen. And I'm surprised because Ryan Poles played offensive line for the Bears.
Right.
And I can't understand how he went in. He drafted one offensive lineman. He's from Yale. So I don't know. I haven't seen him play yet.
That's
And
interesting.
they got a guy from the Bills named Ryan Bates. They traded a 4th-round pick for. Of course, he hasn't played a second because he's been hurt. So, I really believe this. You have to. You know what? I'd rather have no wide receivers. I'd rather sit there with Curtis Samuel and you know what? Give me Darnell Mooney back, Cole Kmet, but a strong offensive line.
Yeah.
And let me still have Khalil Herbert. That's fine. And Roshan Johnson didn't need Swift. I don't know. I just feel like
you're coming around to my thinking that the big uglies. And I was just talking about it before you got on the program. Came backstage. Do these, and DJ Moore is a model citizen. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
DJ Moore's a good guy, but do you give yourself an out as a general manager and giving these wide receivers that second big contract, John, or just move it up? Look at Diggs, look at Diggs and what he's doing. I'm questioning whether Diggs is going to start making problems in Houston because Nico Collins is getting all the ball stone torn. You're a Ohio State fan. Remember how much of a model citizen Mike Thomas was with the Saints? But he got, I know he had some injuries, but, he kind of started acting like a diva after that second contract. I don't know what's happened to Michael Thomas since he signed that second contract with the Saints. So it's like a thing, man. Look at Devontae Adams. They're desperately trying to get rid of him in the Raiders right now, And now you're saying you're kind of frustrated that you really want to get the meat inside rather than getting all these wide receivers.
Yeah, how do you? I mean, you didn't. I mean, I was happy. Okay, you get it's like shiny objects. A Dunze, okay, great, but you can't get the ball to a Dunze. I mean, they did once against Houston.
Yeah,
and here's what happened on there. There you go. You're under 2 minutes. Caleb Williams, he's got the ball. Minute 37. He throws the ball 15, 20-yard pass to a Dunze. Nice, great. Gets down the field. We get down to about the 45-yard line of Houston. What happens next? Will Anderson blows by Darnell Wright, sacks him from behind, fumble. So you can't even continue going forward. You know what I mean? And I think, and I know the Bears won't. We take them out of the picture because they're weird. They're stubborn. They're cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Poles, for me, that's like, I mean, you might have to be fired for that because it's malpractice. You bring him in, and all you told everyone was that, we're going to do something the Bears never done. We're going to develop a quarterback. We don't know how to do it here. Everyone says we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We still don't know how to do it. So it's bad. But I don't know. I like the way he looks.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you do okay. Well, I'm thinking maybe they should go after an offensive-minded head coach. Go. Who was his coach in USC? Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
And maybe use him and get a good defensive court. Go get a Brian Flores type of coordinator and do your thing there. I mean, and it kind of sucks that they're in a great division too. I mean, the North is awesome, ain't they? With the Minnesota.
And great. And that Green Bay and Minnesota have great coaches. I love those two guys, LaFleur and O'Connell. I think they're some of the best in the league. Young guys, good offensive line. Then you throw Detroit in there, right? And no, the Bears. I mean, the Bears are probably going to win 9 games because defensively alone, they win games. So they may win 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could win 9 games on that side of the ball. But I mean, on the offensive side, man, you should have really, and they didn't do it. Jim Harbaugh wanted to go to the Bears. He wants to be Mike Ditka. He wanted to come. You could have just brought him over and let him work with. And it would have been better. See, though, that's the problem. Now I don't want to walk on what I said though. I don't know though if Jim Harbaugh or anybody could do anything with what they have here. with the offensive line as it's made. You know what I mean?
I was
Because
impressed with what they played with all those injuries against Kansas City on Sunday. They had both tackles down.
I know.
I predicted a blowout, and it was a 7-point game. The Chargers had a 10-point lead early in that game.
I wonder why they keep playing Herbert. That kid looks hurt. He's if that's a high ankle sprain or whatever they're playing.
He should have played stick, man. But
and even against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
but
Harbaugh's stubborn,
man. Very.
That's good to see again, buddy.
I'm happy.
Yeah. What do you think about, are the Bills better off now that they've traded Diggs? We talked about Houston just now. What do you think about this Bills? I know they got blown out Sunday, but man, they look good leading up to that.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a plug here real quick.
Yeah.
Every Friday night at 6:00 Eastern, I've spitballing Bills podcast. So it's all Buffalo Bills because we're up here in Buffalo. So we figured it'd be easy. So me and Scott are talking all Bills, but then of course we go to the rest of the NFL. Okay. No, I think I almost called him Jim Kelly. I think Josh Allen's happy. He did make a comment, which was a little zinger, I'm sure, when he said that it's nice that no one cares about their stats anymore. We just want to win. I thought that was a little shot, probably. They're fine. I think he's. You watch the game. That trick play was really at a bad time. That might have been one of the worst plays that they could have, that the Bills could have done when they almost got Allen hurt, and it changed the whole momentum of the game. Because at that point, it's 21-10. It was the third quarter. They had taken two and outs on Baltimore. You could tell everything was moving in the right direction. Yeah. And for some reason, Joe Brady decides, let's do this wacky thing where we put, Allen out as a wide receiver and try to do some. He got buried. He's lucky he finished that. He got hit hard.
18. It was a pretty close game at that point, somewhat.
It was 21-10, and they were going into. They would have probably at least kicked a field goal, maybe scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
because the second half changed, and they looked good, and then all of a sudden you do that, and it all just blew up, and I think it was over. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, is it just so you guys do spitball and Bills? I like to follow the Bills and see what's going on because he's got a great quarterback there. Is it because of Matt Milano's injury and a few in defense? Is that the reason why the Ravens just ran roughshod on them, or is it something deeper than that?
I think that was part. It's definitely part of it, right? Because they didn't have Bernard is out, Milano out.
Yeah.
Even Tyron Johnson, their nickel out. It has to be some of it, I'm sure. Okay. I mean, Derrick Henry just ran wild. I mean, but although the Bills, I'll say this though, that's been the Achilles heel of the Bills. I've always said this even when Jackson was going to play him. Yeah. I'm like, what I would do is you got to run. Because not only that, you keep the ball out of Allen's hands. I think you can run on the Bills though. I think you can. Yes. I think that's their only Achilles there is the run. But they're getting Bernard back. So that'll be very helpful to not have Spector in the middle, who's like a third string guy. Yeah. And Tyron Johnson. Now, I don't know about Milano. He may not be back at all.
They've been talking about maybe he's coming back because he's already done his 4 games at IR, but I didn't see it today.
Yeah. Milano?
Yeah.
I think I bet you he don't come back till December. I don't think he's. Wow. I don't think we're going to see him at all. We will see Bernard, which is good. That's the other. That's big for them. And Tyron Johnson, but from what I listened to, I don't think he's back until the playoffs or something like that for them.
Oh man! So are you leaning Houston this weekend? That's a big game.
Yeah, right. That is a big game.
But I hate to see Diggs get the last laugh.
Right. I mean, I will be. I thought they would lose. I did think Baltimore would beat them. I didn't think it would be that bad, but that was my thought. And I felt they would beat Houston. I feel like they should beat. I'm not as sold on Houston, I think, as a lot of people are. I think they're good. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, CJ Stroud, I think they need Mixon back. I think that's helpful, really helpful for them. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I think the Bills are -1. or plus
is,
one
yeah.
or whatever.
And it's in Houston, but you're right. They've been very close games. Houston has the last few games. I mean, other than Minnesota where they got blown out. So they could be 0-4.
I know. Yeah, the Bears. Yeah,
the Bears had
even
a
the
shot.
Bears had one away. Yeah, they had him at the last second. I think the Bills could win this game. I think probably getting punched in the face a little bit there wasn't a bad thing for them.
They're going to, yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, the first 3 games, I'm just talking about up here in Western New York.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much this is our quarterback's MVP year, and this is our Super Bowl. I mean, this is it.
And then my show, yeah.
And then they got smacked around. That was probably good for them to get beat like that.
Get humbled.
But I think it is there. It is Josh Allen's. You know what? He's got 1 turnover, I think. That's it.
Yeah.
He had the strip sack fumble game 1. He's
barely
probably,
stacked.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit underappreciated for sure. If you listen to the national media and stuff, like I'm going to take him over Lamar every day in my mind.
Yeah,
I'm
you
taking
put
Allen.
him with the Ravens. He's got rings in his pocket.
Yes, because you have better coaching and you have better things. Because you think about the Bills' coaching staff's a little. Sometimes they do crazy things like they did with that play. They scored too quick against the Chiefs. You know what the Chiefs are going to do to you? They're just going to come right back down.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? There's things that they don't do. They got a kicker who can't kick all of a sudden. He's having a real hard time, missing field goals a lot. You'd think they'd have moved away from him. But no, you're right. If he was on Baltimore, he'd put him on Kansas City, obviously. Don't you think? I think he's a little underappreciated, and this could be because you know what? He could have won it last year, honestly.
Yeah.
He really probably could have won it.
Yeah.
But no.
Remember, they were 6-6 at one point. They weren't even going to make the playoffs at one point.
Yeah, and they ran the table like they went down to Miami, beat Miami. They beat the Eagles, I think.
They lost that lead to the Eagles.
Yeah, okay, and they beat. It was like a Dallas, Miami, and there was one other really good team they had, and I know they won them all. So
they ran the table, and they're really an interesting team. All right, buddy, I got to ask you, big trade in the NBA there.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns, what's your initial thought? I was pretty high on that, man.
Yeah, I mean, they needed it. It's funny. The big thing was Hartenstein's gone. You need a center. You need a center really bad now. So you get Karl Anthony Towns. And Julius Randle, we've said this on the show. I've said it. He's never lived up to that one half a season where I thought everyone was calling him Bernard King. And it didn't happen.
Bad shots in the play. It was terrible in the playoffs, John.
Yes, he'd fall over and stuff. So, I mean, you would – that was unbelievable. I can't believe they did. I mean, great deal. What I think you need, though, is Mitchell Robinson to get back because I'd like to see Towns – I want to have Josh Hart be the sixth man, have him coming off the bench, because now I wrote this down because think about this. They got Bridges now. They got Anunoby. And Brunt, you got some really good defenders now, elite defenders. If you can make Towns be the 4, the power forward, having Mitchell Robinson being the center, you got Hart and you still have McBride, Deuce McBride as your backup point guard. They brought Cam. I like Cam Payne. I don't have a problem with him from the Suns. He's there. And Achua. They still have the Prince. So I think this was. I am so jaded as being a Knicks fan. I think this puts them in position to maybe challenge the Celtics. Okay. Certainly, I think they're better than Philadelphia.
Yes,
and they should be able to beat Indiana.
Right. That's my other question. If this team is falling apart because of Tom Thibodeau running the starters in the ground too many minutes. Do you make a coaching change even though he's got a contract extension over the summer, John?
I know. Yeah, I know. You said this to me. It's funny. Last time I was on talking Knicks, you said the same thing about Thibodeau. About him. No, because you're right though. He does. I mean, he loves defense, right? That's his thing. Yeah. And they brought him elite defenders. I love the Bridges thing. I was really happy with him.
Dog, ain't he?
So yeah, and you got to know bleed. Now you got to keep him healthy too. Because OG doesn't stay healthy. I always seem to be hurt even with Toronto. So, you might be right there. You were right the last time you said it. So, I mean,
And I like the guy, but man, they fall apart on every year in the playoffs, John. Everybody's hurt.
I know, yeah, Brunson.
Fell down.
It's a great point. No, it's a great point though, because that is the over-under is 54.5, I see, for games for them to win. They won 50 last year. Is it worth pushing it over to 55? Do you see what I'm like to run them? Like, run them so, and they're great defenders. This is going to be fun for a Knicks fan. Finally, it feels that way. Towns has got to stay healthy too. Let's not forget him. He needs to. He's a guy who doesn't exactly stay.
He take threes, and he doesn't stay. Here's my thing, and I know Pickles kind of disagreed with me, saying that you earn your paycheck, and I'm okay with that. I'm against all that load management, but at some point, you've got to develop the bench. You got to play the bench.
Yeah.
You can't play Brunson 45 minutes a night and expect to run roughshod against Boston in the playoffs. Forget about the West. Look at Denver, and Minnesota, and then Dallas is coming up. I mean, the bar is going to be pretty high for the Knicks this year, man, I would say.
Well, he should be able to have that, because I look at what I perceive after we go Brunson, Bridges, Anobi, Towns, and Mitchell Robinson. You got Hart off the bench, good defender. We know how he is. Deuce McBride he was good when he would get the opportunity to take over for Brunson. He was really good. I like Achua. And Cameron Payne was decent for the Suns off the bench. You got four. There's no reason why he should run. I think that's maybe what they did for him. Here is at least, and I know last year the bench was McBride, and I think who would you have there? McBride, Hart, maybe, but then you were having all kinds of injury issues. Randall was gone, and
Randall's been hurt last couple of years. Yeah.
That is a really good point, though, because you're going to have to. That's something to keep an eye on, is how he uses the bench in the early going. So you're ready for
he's got to learn. I mean, the definition of insanity, John's doing the same thing over, expecting a different result. I love the guy, but at some point, Carlos was right. Mad New Yorker said he runs guys in the ground, and Phil Jackson, that was what was really good about him. He knew how to manage his players. Shaq said it in a documentary. He says, he would lower our minutes. He said Phil would lower our minutes once we got closer, particularly my minutes, talking about the diesel, once we got towards the playoffs. And Pat Riley didn't. He pushed him even harder. And of course, that's why they only got one ring there with Dwayne Wade instead of 2 or 3. But obviously, Shaq was getting older. I mean, I don't believe in like total load management where you're just not playing them at all, but at least lower it down 10 or 5-6 minutes here or there in March, the third week of March going into April. Is that asking too much?
No, and sometimes I wonder with Tibbs if maybe he's one of those guys that can only take you so far. Maybe this is it. Maybe he brought you and he's really turned them around. He's helped turn the team around.
Jay Wright or Mark Jackson or somebody like that. If you're hurt again, Jay Wright.
Mark Jackson is who I want.
Mark Jackson, yes.
Because I still can't believe he hasn't coached since Golden State, right? He hasn't. He just announced. Oh my God. He would be my first choice. Bring him there. And I think you have. Tibbs, I got to say, man, I forgot all about this conversation we had before, but it's the right conversation because these guys do get run into the ground, and we saw it. So as we're watching the Knicks, if you're a Knicks fan, you got to pay attention to the bench.
Yeah. Because
that's probably going to say it all when they match up against Indiana and lose to them, who they shouldn't. I'm sorry. I still don't think
destroyed Indiana. Game 7, dude. That was so frustrating. I want to see the Knicks win. I mean, I'm out of Nashville. I like Memphis, but they're not serious. I would like to see they're just a great mecca for basketball up there in Madison Square Garden. I used to work up there when I lived up there. And I think it would be awesome to see them finally get over the freaking hump and win a championship. Look what all the other New York, other than the Yankees, are always doing good. But,
1973 or 74 was the last
Bill
time.
Jackson was on that team, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, yes, Bill Jackson was on the team. Right. That was the last time. And they barely made the finals. I mean, I don't even know if they. I can't even think. No, they against Houston. I remember with the
1994.
Yeah, the OJ
chase.
Yep. So yeah, you're right. It's
Well, they
time.
lost to the Spurs in '99 too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's kind of like a write-off year because it was It was that
Mhm.
shortened season there.
Doesn't even feel like it happened.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Ohio State, are they properly ranked this year? I had in the preseason, John. I had them winning the national championship over Georgia, by the way, but I don't know. That was preseason.
I think they sit at 3 all year. Like, because all these SEC teams are around them. They're surrounded by everyone. I mean, Missouri finally fell out, and Oregon popped up to sleep, but they had Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, Alabama. I think they stay there at all times because I don't know how they jump these. I don't know how they could possibly jump Alabama, Georgia, Tech when they're all playing each other and they're all playing these super games and everything's going. You know what I mean? And like, I thought Georgia saved. I'm not that they were going to make the playoff no matter what, but if they had continued to get blown out, how much further they'd have probably dropped than
That's
5.
true. That's a good point.
So they saved themselves there a little.
It was a road game.
I mean, this week Ohio State goes and plays Iowa. Iowa's got a good defense. Iowa's got a good running game. Do I think it'll be tough? Yes. I think it'll be tough in the beginning. I think it'll be hard.
Yeah.
I think they took that safety from Caleb Downs from Alabama. He's been really good. The running back Judkins from Ole Miss with Henderson. They got a good mix there.
That's why I was high on them. What you just saying, and of course their quarterback here.
And they got that wide receiver. Their freshman might be the 1B to the Alabama one.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith. The catches he's making are very similar to the ones that Williams are making.
Yeah.
And
he's
pretty good. He's awfully good. Now they just don't. The problem is, it's just the SEC will always have that over everyone. The conference play is so darn good that it's unreal. I mean, they're going to play Oregon coming up here. That's going to be really good next week.
When is that? In 2 weeks?
I think it is 2 weeks. Yeah, then they got Penn State.
Eugene. I mean, if they can beat them, that may jump them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think again, every year with them, it's defense for me.
Yeah.
Last week against Michigan State, the defense started out kind of slow and let Michigan State move the ball. And the guy's a freshman quarterback, Childs, who I like for Michigan State. He's going to be good, but not yet. Yeah. And, you can't start slow because when you start slow, you know what I mean? Against good teams, you might not come back. So that's been my problem with Jim Knowles and the whole Ohio State situation.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly, though, on the other hand, I think their offense looks good. But I think defensively, you got to start quicker on defense. So that's my thoughts.
A lot of that's going to come down on that Oregon game. It seems like because Michigan, I'm surprised Michigan even beat USC, man.
Yeah, that saved their season.
Total,
Yeah, that saved their season because I don't think they're a top 10 team. No. And they're in the top 10. Penn State will be in it. They play Ohio State, I believe, plays them too. So that'll be
that's a resume builder.
That's a good one. And that's about, that'll be, I think Iowa, but these other, let me get with Illinois, Indiana, these teams are better. Look at them. Nebraska's even a little better. They get votes all the time to get in the top 10. You got Illinois and Indiana. Indiana's 5-0. So it's not bad, but it's
not what it was a few years ago.
It's not Southeast Conference, man. Those guys. Yeah.
Especially since Texas is the way they're playing.
How the hell did they get that? I know. And they're in there too. That's the thing. So sometimes I still forget they're even in that conference.
They're in the SEC. Yeah. They got to play Georgia in a couple weeks.
Oh, I can't wait.
This is the best month for college, man. Texas, Georgia's going to play. Like you said, Oregon and Ohio State. I've been looking forward to that game in a while. And then Tennessee plays Alabama in a few weeks as well.
I think they're for real too. When they played Oklahoma,
you like Tennessee?
I liked how they look because every time Tennessee's good, it feels like they're going to have to win 62-45 or something crazy.
Yeah.
When they played the other day against, I know Oklahoma was whatever.
Yeah.
But they were able to power them. Like they pushed them around. They ran the ball. They didn't have to. throw 400 yards. I think they're more prepared to win.
They got a pretty deep defensive line this year. It's the deepest it's been in years, is what I've been told. But you saw it against Alabama. And then Oklahoma beating Auburn, that helped Tennessee's resume as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was sure Auburn would beat them. I lost a few dollars in a parlay on that. It's hard coming off that big game and then playing another game,
Yeah, that's my problem thinking about Ohio State this week. You got Iowa, but you better not be looking at Oregon. You better take it easy. Iowa's plus about 20.5. Interesting. Could be much. I don't know. Could be a little much.
Kentucky almost beat Georgia the other day.
Oh, my God. And then they beat Ole Miss.
Then they turned around and beat Ole Miss.
Think about that. They had to play Georgia, Carson Beck, then Jackson Dart, and they almost won them both.
Yeah.
So, they won the one, and they could have won the other.
Well, they got some defensive guys that are pretty good. Plug your shows again. So you're on Spitballing. Okay, just tell me the whole week of John Restano here, buddy.
All right, this is unbelievable. On Friday nights, the Spitballin' Bills podcast, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's all Buffalo Bills. But at the end, we do go through the rest of the schedule. We give our picks and all that. On Thursday's the new show, Gridiron Weekly. I'm with Bill and Ed, my buddies. One's from up in Wisconsin. The other guy is in Pittsburgh. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. We do all things NFL and college. We usually start to half college, half pro. These guys are really smart. It's real intelligent stuff. It's really cool. The other night, last night, we had Zig Fracassi from Sirius XM NFL Radio.
I saw that.
Yeah, he spent an hour with us. It was really cool. So that's a cool show. And so that's where you see me for that. I won't give the hockey stuff because no one's watching. I won't do that. No natural predator.
Do you do anything else that's non-sporty? I think you do some of the stuff with the hospital or something. What was that all about?
My Citizens, the show. Yeah. Okay, I got the Citizens United show. That's 6 p.m. on Mondays. That's a pretty local show to Western New York. But we do things end up falling nationally sometimes because they're issues that are everywhere. So that's my
New York local. Okay, I was just wondering about that. Was okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a local, but it does. Like this week, we fell into some national stuff. And that's just a circus. That show turns into God knows what. You never know what could happen with the people that come out. I don't know. But
John's everywhere, guys. Yeah.
Oh yes. You got to come with us to the Gridiron show. Someday.
Yeah, I know. I'm just preparing. As I'm prepared for this show, that's the only reason I don't jump on all. I'm working 3 or 4 jobs. I'm a medical carrier driver. I drive Uber on the side. I got a sign thing. I'm driving with the sign. Then I do this show. It's crazy.
It's a lot. It's a lot to get these shows ready. No, I know. I hear you, man. Yeah. This is a great show, though. I love this show.
Appreciate you, brother. And of course, I will. If you get in dire straits because you're coming on, I'll make time for you.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I appreciate it. I love coming on here. Ask anytime. This is great.
I love having you on, man. It's fun and it goes by quick. We're already over.
I know.
I saw you watching that stuff up behind. It's I think I want to bring him in on these Ron Williams, Odell Beckham catches. 17 years old. You hope this kid don't burn out on us, man.
Me too. What's he gonna another year at Alabama before he probably declared?
2 years.
It's 17. Jesus, he's unbelievable. That's just.
And he's getting all this NIL money. I hope it just doesn't go to his head and he turns into a tragedy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's all.
Half glass empty guy.
I hope it'll be interesting. I don't know what the kid's background is. I hope it's solid. I hope he's got that because they are going to be people pulling him. Yeah, definitely.
John Restano, everybody, man. I love it, brother. And I'll definitely bring you back on, especially if something big happens in that Texas game, like a fist fight with Josh Allen and Stephon.
Bring me back. Yep.
All right, buddy. Man. Appreciate it, man. Thanks again, everybody. And that was John there. Check Spitballin' Sports out. Great guest here. I'll be back on tomorrow. Ralph Williams talking the AFC North with Ralph Williams and mainly the Pittsburgh Steelers. He knows a lot about the Steelers, everybody. So have a good night, everybody. I'm running behind, but it's always fun. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on the Real Sports Scope.